Good evening, everyone. So, welcome to today's session on environment and ecology. And we are continuing with some of the areas that we have. We looked into some protective areas yesterday, correct? Conservation areas regarding wildlife, like national parks, sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, etc. etc. So, in today's class, we are continuing with the same topic, except we are looking into some species specific conservation projects, such as Project Tiger, okay, Project Rhino, okay, India's one horn rhino vision, all these things, conservation of dolphins, hangars. All right, so that is the topic for us today. Again, very much theoretical in nature, especially considering most of them are government schemes. So this is not an exhaustive list of conservation projects. There are much more than what I'm going to teach you today, but most of that comes in the current affairs area. So when you study current affairs, environment and ecology, please add all those topics along with this. Okay, these are the earlier ones, the ones that have been continuing for years and years now. Okay, so without any further ado, let's begin today's session. Once again, a very good evening to all of you. If you are new here, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video and share with your friends. All right. So today's chapter is conservation efforts. So today is the last chapter on this topic. Next class, we will be looking into climate change. All right. So biodiversity portion is over. The static portion is done with today's chapter. From tomorrow onwards, it's regarding climate and climatology, that area. In the environment perspective, okay, not the geographical perspective that you can study in geography. Anyway, let's begin. First thing, or the first topic for the day is Project Tiger. All right, so you might have seen a lot of advertisement regarding Project Tiger in YouTube itself. Correct? MS Dhoni was its ambassador for some time. I hope you have seen those advertisements and all. But anyway, in India, India is one of the tiger-rich countries. Okay, a lot of tigers were there in India in the past, and roughly the numbers were around 40,000 in 1900s. But after that, the tiger population in India saw a huge decline, a very steep dip. Okay, and this dip came almost up to 1800 tigers by 1972. So from where it was in 1900, which was 40,000, it became 1800 in 1972, and it became very much important to start concrete measures to save these tigers. And that is why Project Tiger was launched as a centrally sponsored scheme in the year 1973. The aim was very simple: conserve the tiger and make sure that there is a proper harmonizing between the tribals and the tiger. Yesterday also I told you regarding the man and biosphere program. There's a constant conflict between wildlife and human beings. So try to avoid that. Try to sensitize them. Try to create awareness, and as much as possible reduce this friction between tigers and the surrounding communities. So these were the initial aims of this project. As a part of this major umbrella project, there are some important specific projects that were undertaken by Government of India. First of all, constructing or creating tiger reserves. What exactly is a tiger reserve? Just as you might have thought, areas that are notified for protection of tiger and its prey. Okay, that is also very important. You can't simply protect one species by protecting that species. If you want to protect a species, you have to protect some other species also, because of the food web or food chain. Correct? Tiger is an apex predator, so it cannot survive if any of the lower topic levels are gone. So if you want to conserve a tiger, you have to conserve all the below trophic levels also. Correct? So this was a holistic idea to create a tiger reserve, to create many tiger reserves for the protection of tiger as well as its prey. So again, this cannot be implemented solely by the central government. So that is why it was created as a centrally sponsored project. State government has the onus of doing the main legwork. Correct. So the state government shall, on recommendation of the National Tiger Conservation Authority, notify an area as a tiger reserve. Yesterday also we studied that when you want to set up a national park or say wildlife sanctuary, after it is done, then it comes under the control of a national authority. Correct? I hope you remember that. Similarly, here also, it is National Tiger Conservation Authority that actually gives the permission or the final go ahead with a tiger reserve. Just like a sanctuary, or sorry, just like a biosphere reserve, a tiger reserve also has a couple of zones. Okay, yesterday I hope you remember we studied about the core zone, buffer zone, and transition zone in a biosphere reserve. Similarly, here also we have a core zone. So what is a core zone? Core zone, same idea. Basically, this is a very a zone with minimal human activity that where there are a very viable number of tigers thriving and existing in this habitat. Okay, we are trying to keep it as much away from human interference as possible. But at the same time, we are also trying to make sure that the tribal life is intact. Okay, we cannot just ask the tribals to move away or, etc., etc. That's not possible. So we are trying to find that balance between conserving these tigers and the people who depend on the forest to make their livelihood. But sometimes relocations are also necessary to implement this. Okay, so these are areas again notified by the state government in consultation with the expert committee set for that purpose. Once this notification is done, an expert committee is designated to find out the areas that has to be inside the core zone, and based on its recommendations, the state government comes up with the final notification. Then, just outside the core zone, we have the buffer zone. Buffer zone, again, the main idea is to create a buffer between the core zone and the outer world. Okay, so this area acts as a shock absorber from the outer world to keep the core zone as much, less interfered as possible. And in the buffer zone, a wide variety of human activities are allowed, provided it does not violate the peaceful coexistence between tigers and human beings. Okay, so human activities such as based on livelihood, developmental projects, social and cultural rights are all respected here, provided it does not in any way pose a threat to the peaceful coexistence between wildlife and human beings. Okay, here also the issue is once this notification is done, once the final notification is done, no alteration in the boundaries of a tiger reserve can be made, except in recommendations of the National Tiger Conservation Authority and approval from National Board for Wildlife. Yesterday also we studied, once the biosphere has been given the final go-ahead, it is not possible to alter the boundaries of a biosphere reserve without the consent of National Board for Wildlife, NBWL. Correct. So same is applicable for Project Tiger, except we have to consider one other authority, that is National Tiger Conservation Authority, NTCA. What is NTCA? A very brief into the NTCA. NTCA basically, the Amendment Act of 2006 provides for the constitution of a statutory authority known as National Tiger Conservation Authority. Basically, it's the authority that deals with the conservation of tigers, and most importantly, it is a statutory authority, which means it is created in accordance with the law. I hope you know what's the difference between a constitutional body, a statutory body, and a non-statutory body. Okay, so constitutional bodies are those bodies that are given in the constitution. Statutory bodies are those bodies that have a backing of law, that was created based on a law passed by the parliament or say state legislature, whatever. And then non-statutory bodies that doesn't come under the first two categories. So NTCA is a statutory body, which means it has the backing of a law. Powers and functions. So just like yesterday, this slide I'm going to skim through. I'm not going to read all these things. This is again copy pasted from the website. It's given as such without any changes. You can read it in your own time, but you can mostly guess all of these functions and powers. Why would you want a body like that? What could be its objectives? So what are its functions? Approve tiger conservation plan prepared by state government. Evaluate and assess various aspects of sustainable ecology. Disallow any ecologically unsustainable land use. lay down normative standards for tourism activities. So anything that you can think about. It's a very broad, very vague area. It's very much easy to understand also. So I'm going to skip this. I'll upload this slide in my Telegram channel. Please download it from there and read it in your own time. Okay, just read it once and you will remember everything. Now, how do we know that the tiger population is very, very low or has gone drastically low? How do we know this? Have we, when each place and counted the numbers? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Can we do like that? For population, that is possible. Correct. Extended surveys are conducted every 10 years, and we have a very good picture of what is the population of this country, human population. But for tigers, this is not possible. Correct? Because tigers doesn't have a specific home or anything, or it doesn't have an Aadhaar card. Okay, so or a voter ID. So it's not that easy to track a tiger. So here also we conduct something known as a census. Okay, it's called a tiger census. Tiger census is the method in which the population of a tiger is population of tigers are counted. So tiger census gives us a lot of details. First of all, it provides us with an estimate of the tiger number. Okay, a rough figure on how many tigers are currently alive in India. At the same time, it also gives us the density and change in tiger indices. Okay, so what does that mean? Density and change in tiger. Density means what? Number over area. Correct. So how many tigers are present in a given area? That is the density of tigers in that area. So we can understand that also. Finally, change in tiger indices. What is it? That is also a measure of tiger occupancy in a given area. Okay, because again, tiger is a wild animal that keeps on moving here and there. So at a given time, how many tigers are there in that area and how much change happened over time. All these data can be easily found. Information can be found out from the data that we collect through tiger census. Earlier, the most common method of conducting this tiger census was puckmark census technique. What is puckmark? Puckmark census technique. Basically, the paw of a tiger. Okay, just like the human handprint. Tigers have paws, right? So this paw print is actually taken into consideration. This is very unique. This is very easy to identify because it's different for different species and all. So by looking into the puck mark or the paw mark of these tigers, and by counting these, it was possible to arrive at a rough number. This was the most commonly used technique in the earlier days. But this does not give us a very accurate picture because it could be a tiger or a panther or a cheetah or whatever. It could be anything. It's not that easy to distinguish. Also, we cannot rely on marks on a soil, correct, on top of a soil. So not such a highly scientific method. In order to overcome the drawbacks of this method of census, a couple of new techniques were identified. One is camera trapping. So what is this camera trapping? Cameras are kept inside the forests at different areas where tiger movements happen. Okay, after a long study, you will know which are the areas where the tigers move through. So find these areas and place a camera there. There are plenty of cameras here and there. So by checking these camera feeds and all, it's possible for identifying or counting tigers. That's one method. This is way better than puckmark counting. And the other one is even more better. That is DNA fingerprinting. So by identifying the scats of these tigers, it's possible to identify the DNA. And DNA is very unique. It's it's very unique for each individual. So we get the best accurate number through DNA fingerprinting. So these are the various methods used in estimation of the tiger populations in India. So it's not just an Indian thing. Tigers are not just present in India, it's present in multiple countries around the world. Correct? So obviously we have some international cooperation in case of tiger conservation. India even have a memorandum of understanding with Leopard on controlling transboundary illegal trade of wildlife and conservation. Also, we have a protocol in action with China on tiger conservation. We have set up some bilateral protocols with Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar. I mean, basically all of our neighbors in the northeastern region. Okay, because this is one of the main tiger areas in the world. So we have adequate protocols in place to conserve these animals. All right. Apart from all this, a global tiger forum of tiger range countries has been created for addressing international issues related to the tiger conservation. A global tiger forum. You might have heard about this. It's the short form is GTF. I think you should, if you read newspaper, you should have heard about this body, GTF. So what exactly is this tiger range countries? Tiger range countries are basically those Asian countries where you can see, a very good population of tigers, and this includes the following countries: Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, China, Indonesia, India, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Nepal, Russian Federation, Thailand, and Vietnam. So all the Southeast Asian countries with India and Russia. Okay, so these areas, this area is basically the home of majority of the tigers in the world, and hence is known as the tiger range countries. Okay, so India also has a very important role in saving these tigers. India, I mean, as I have mentioned, Project Tiger was implemented in India, and as a result of this project, we were able to revive the tiger population to a very good extent. Okay, now the tiger population is back. It was very low in the 1970s, and over the past decades, due to very good and efficient conservation strategies, we have managed to bring up the tiger population considerably. Okay, so what are the contributions by India, or what else have India done as in the international arena? The Asian Ministerial Conference on Tiger Conservation. The New Delhi Resolution on Tiger Conservation was adopted by the Third Asian Ministerial Conference on Tiger Conservation. Okay, so this is a Asian conference which is solely looking into the protection of these animals, these apex predators. And the New Delhi Declaration, which was put forth as a part of the Third Asian Ministerial Conference on Tiger Conservation, came up with the following strategies. First of all, recovery of tiger in low-density protected areas through 3 R's. What are the 3 R's? Restoration, reintroduction, and rehabilitation. In certain areas where there are, the entire population has been wiped out, you might need to restore or say reintroduce, or maybe in certain cases you will have to rehabilitate a tiger from one area to a different area. Very recently in Assam, rhinoceros has been rehabilitated from one region to another because of the floods. Okay, the Assam floods has been in the newspapers for a very long time. Kaziranga National Park was underwater for a very long time. So the rhinoceros were shifted from that area to some other area, correct? Manas and all. So this is known as rehabilitation. So all this has to be done in order to make sure the tigers are protected. So this was one of the main focus areas. Then acceleration of implementation of Global Tiger Recovery Program. Global Tiger Recovery Program is a program that basically includes habitat improvement and anti-poaching surveillance through modern technology. So as I said, tiger is an apex predator. So the habitat is very, very, very important. If anything happens to any of the lower tropical levels, it will directly get affected to tigers. Correct? So habitat protection is a very important focus area. It is equally important to protect these tigers against illegal poaching. A lot of hunters or illegal poachers actually, use this, kill the tiger and take its skin for various purposes. You know that. So, it has huge values in black market and all, and it's, a lot of illegal activities going on in this area. So, adequate strategies has to be put in place to prevent the illegal hunting down of tigers. Align development and tiger conservation by ensuring intensive participation of locals and other stakeholders. Also correct. So especially the people who are living just outside these forests and all, there is a very good chance that tigers might occasionally come out of the forest and attack the cattle and livestock. Correct. So this will obviously start a conflict between man and wildlife. So it is necessary to sensitize the local people on how to take care of these situations, spread awareness, how can we prevent such conflicts. Got it. So this is another focus area. And finally, economic growth and addressing climate change and strengthening cooperation to combat wildlife crime. Economic growth, important point. We need adequate funding and all in order to do such projects, large scale projects. We also have to address climate change, because in the end, as I have mentioned in one of the previous classes, abiotic factors basically determine how much the biotic factors can survive or adapt. Correct? The biota in an area is basically determined by the abiotic factors. Correct? So we have to properly address climate change, and we also have to strengthen cooperation to combat wildlife crime. We have a wildlife control, crime control bureau and all. I mentioned about it in the previous classes. Please go through that if you do not remember. Okay, so these are the main objectives as far as the New Delhi Declaration of Tiger Conservation is concerned. And this is a part of Asian Ministerial Conference on Tiger Conservation. So that's all about tigers. Okay, please do check out which is the state in India that has the most number of tigers. Let that be a homework for you. Okay, go check it out. It's either Madhya Pradesh or Karnataka. That is your options. It is one of them. Okay, if you check it out, I mean, you should take some initiatives in your own part. That's why I'm not going to tell you as such. These two states have are the top two, Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh. Which one is the topmost? Find it out yourself. Project Elephant. So just as tigers, elephants are also very, very important. Correct. Again, this is another species that is facing a lot of threat because of a lot of issues. It is often in the newspapers, especially because of how elephants are treated or used in, say, a wide variety of festivals, where elephants are forced to stand in hot sun for a very long time, etc., etc. And it's the wildlife activists are all against these kinds of traditions that are a part of religious beliefs. Okay, so elephant conservation is almost always in the news. So Project Elephant was launched in the year 1972, again as a centrally sponsored scheme. The basic idea is to help the states which are having a lot of elephants to conserve them and to ensure their survival in their own natural habitats. In India, the major elephant population is confined in 13 states or union territories. That includes Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal, Assam, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Kerala, etc., etc. You can read it. These are the 13 states or UTs where maximum number of elephants are found. So the project mainly looks into these areas. That does not mean that the project is not available for other areas. Of course, wherever elephants are present, the project will have a role to play there. But these are the major areas where the conservation activities are conducted. Now, what is the aim of Project Elephant? What could be the aim? Ecologically restoring the natural habitats and migratory routes of elephants. Yes. Mitigation of increasing conflicts between man and elephants. Developing scientific and planned management measures for conservation of elephants. Protecting the elephants from poachers. Researching on issues related to elephants and creating public awareness. Eco development and veterinary care. Maintaining healthcare and breeding. All these points are self-explanatory. I don't think I have to explain any of these again. It's okay. Even without exactly knowing what these are, you can put down your own points. Why would you conserve elephants? Or what is the need to conserve that species? Correct. Let it be elephant or tiger or dolphin or whatever. Why would you conserve an animal? There are certain common points that are applicable to every species. Correct? Write that down. And if there are any specific points for that specific species, add that too to make your answer brilliant. Get it? Now, elephant corridor. This is another term that we see in the newspapers very often. Whenever you speak about elephants, you also speak about an elephant corridor. So what is an elephant corridor? The narrow stretch of lands, okay, that connects larger habitats with elephant populations and forms a conduit for animal movement between habitats. This is known as elephant corridor. Okay, so if this is a major area of elephants and this is a major area of elephant population, there could be a path in between that connects these two. That is used by these elephants to move through. They move from one area to another and then come back and go to another area. Often movement is happening between these major populations. This is known as an elephant corridor. And this movement is very, very important because it helps in the survival as well as birth rate. They move because of a reason. Okay, maybe due to climatic conditions, maybe due to the lack of or the shortage of food, maybe due to some other kind of competition, maybe because some other predator species have arrived in that area. So migration is very, very important. This movement is vital as far as the elephants are concerned. You can't stop it. That will only adversely affect that population. Got it. So this area, this narrow strip of land, or the migratory route, or the route in which they move, is known as an elephant corridor. Okay, so in India, elephants are facing huge issues, and the major issue is the fragmentation of elephant habitat. And this is extremely visible in northern West Bengal, followed by northwestern India, northeastern India, and central India, respectively. Okay, in South India, the fragmentation is comparatively very, very, very less. Habitat fragmentation is a huge threat for elephants in northern India and northeastern India, also northwest. Got it. Nationally, only 24% of the corridors are under complete forest cover, which means the remaining 76% are not under complete forest cover. So that could be passing through some other areas which are not forest areas. Correct? It could be passing, some of these corridors actually interfere with national highways. Some of these actually interfere with railway lines. You have, we very commonly see in the news that, a couple of elephants died because it collided with a train. Correct? Why? Because it's a migratory route it's the movement route of this elephant. It's an elephant corridor. And our Indian Railways has constructed a railway line through that area, and it came into conflict. Okay, so we have to have adequate steps to prevent all these things, and so that we can protect the species of elephants. So what exactly are the threats to elephant corridors? First of all, the major threat I have explained, habitat loss leading to fragmentation and destruction. Okay, for any species, habitat is very, very vital. And if the habitat is not stable, then it will lead to the destruction of that species. Coal mining, another huge issue. What is coal mining? Coal mining and iron ore mining are the two biggest threats to elephant corridors in central India. Single biggest threats in central India as far as elephants are concerned are coal mining and iron ore mining. Okay, why? Because these mines are not properly closed, or maybe this, once mining is done in an area, that entire environment is, in a complete disarray. Mining is having huge negative implications on environment. Okay, forget about elephant. For any species, mining is a major issue. For plants, for ecosystem, for anything. And as far as central India is concerned, iron ore mining and coal mining are the two single biggest threats in threats to tiger corridor. Sorry, elephant corridor. Okay, sorry. Now, Orissa, Jharkhand, and Chhattisgarh are mineral-rich states, but also have the highest number of elephant corridors in the country. Okay, Orissa, Jharkhand, and Chhattisgarh. Three of the major states having most number of elephants. And obviously, because of the higher numbers, there is higher number of elephant-man conflict. Okay, higher number of man-animal conflict. Then obviously you have the poaching problem, hunting, okay, illegal hunting and all, for especially for the ivory that is associated with the tusk of the elephant. Then elephants need to needs extensive grazing grounds. That is another thing. Elephants are, what is the size of an elephant? It takes in a lot of wood. So it needs habitats where a lot of wood is available. Extensive grazing grounds are very, very vital for elephant population. It's always coming as tiger. Okay, sorry. Elephant population. Okay, so if the food is short in a particular area, what will happen? The elephant will go in search of food. So maybe that would lead them to farmlands where there are, a lot of banana plantations or sugarcane plantations. And once the elephant reaches there, that entire farmland is gone. Okay, so these are the main threats to elephant corridors. What are the mitigation measures? Plenty of mitigation measures are there. You can write it down yourself. What could be the possible ways to save or conserve elephants? Okay, I am not going to take too much time into that. The major idea is to fuse these corridors with nearby protected areas. We have a lot of natural we have a lot of national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, and various other kinds of protected areas, correct? So if you can fuse these elephant corridors into one of these areas, these protected areas, that could give these elephant corridors a lot of safety, correct? So that is one possible way. Similarly, securing the corridors involving sensitizing of local communities, basically creating mass awareness and helping them to avoid man-animal conflict. These are very general points that you can add to any, say, conservation projects. There is something called MIKE program. Okay, so what exactly is MIKE? Monitoring of illegal killing of elephants. Again, this program is brought by, brought for the purpose of preventing poaching of elephants or illegal killing of elephants, which is mainly for their tusk. So this program has been mandated by the Conference of Parties Resolution of CITES. Okay, I hope you know what CITES is. I think I have mentioned it before. Otherwise, go check it out. It's an international organization that deals with international transactions of endangered species. So go find it out. So MIKE program was started in South Asia in the year 2003. The major idea was to provide information needed for elephant range states to make appropriate management and enforcement decisions, to protect this species, to improve institutional capacity to protect the species, so and so. So basically, it measures levels and trends in illegal hunting of elephants, determine changes in these trends over time. Okay, a lot of associated things. Whatever can be done to prevent illegal poaching of elephants, these measures are taken. And all the data that is collected under the MIKE is actually submitted in front of the Sub-Regional Support Office for South Asia program that is located in New Delhi. And this is assisted by Ministry in Implementation of Program, the Ministry of Environment and Forests. Okay, so the Sub-Regional Office or Support Office of South Asia program of MIKE is located in New Delhi, which is assisted by the Ministry of Forest and Environment. So all the data is given to them and appropriate measures are taken with the help of state governments to prevent any sort of illegal hunting or poaching. Again, another very important program regarding elephant conservation is Hathi Mera Sati. Hathi Mere Sati. Okay, I think you have heard about this. Hathi Mere Sati was actually launched by Ministry of Environment and Forests in partnership with Wildlife Trust of India, WTI. Okay, so again, in order to conserve improve the conservation status and welfare prospects for elephants, elephant was even declared as the national heritage animal of India. Correct? And this campaign was launched at the Elephant 8 Ministerial Meeting. This is also known as the E8 Ministerial Meeting, that was held in New Delhi in 24th of May 2011. So what are the Elephant 8 countries? What are the E8 countries? They include India, Botswana, Republic of Congo, Indonesia, Kenya, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, and Thailand. Just like we have the tiger range countries, we also have the elephant countries, that is Elephant 8 or E8. Okay, by heart, which are the countries that are a part of this organization? It could be very much handy in your exam. So, this was a very public initiative aimed at increasing the awareness among people in developing friendship and companionship between man and animal. And the campaign of this, the mascot of this campaign was actually Gaju. Okay, it was an elephant, obviously, and the name of that mascot was Gaju. Correct. So it basically envisions setting up of Gaja centers or elephant centers throughout the country's landscape. And recommended by the Elephant Task Force, ETF, constituted by the ministry, the campaign to take Gaja to the Praja. Take the elephants to the people. Okay, that was a slogan of that campaign. Again, to sensitize and create mass awareness among the people on elephant conservation strategies. Take Gaja to the Praja. Okay, so Hathi Mere Sathi, very important project. Elephant 8, E8 countries, and then take Gaja to the Praja, that slogan. These are very simple points that you may not think it is very important. But if you can add all these in a mains answer or maybe an essay that is regarding say wildlife conservation, then it could give you a lot. It could make your essay or answer much more catchy. Okay, it can easily catch the attention of the examiner, which could fetch you more and more marks. Clear? So keep an eye on all these things. So coming to Elephant 8 ministerial meeting. Earlier I mentioned which are the Elephant 8 countries. The E8 ministerial meeting was actually a meeting that was represented by regions with all 3 species of elephants. 3 species of elephants are there. Elephas maximus, that is the Asian elephant. Loxodonta africana, that is the African bush elephant. And then Loxodonta cyclotis, that is African forest elephant. So 1 Asian species and 2 African species. So totally 3 species of elephants are there. And E8 countries basically represent the countries that have huge populations of these 3 species. So this one includes participation from policymakers, conservationists, cultural experts, etc., etc., and take necessary action in the direction of protection of elephant. Okay, so all range countries agree to join hands under the umbrella of Elephant 50-50 Forum. What is this Elephant 50-50 Forum? It is actually a forum that has a shared vision of 50 states to promote conservation, management, and welfare of elephants in the 50 years to come by. So 50 states across the globe joining hands together to protect elephants for the next 50 years. That is the Elephant 50-50 Forum. Okay, and all the range countries in the Elephant 8 agreed to be a part of this. Got it? And the E8 countries decided to hold its first international congress of E50-50 Forum in 2013 in New Delhi. And it is where this resolution was adopted. So India is very, very important as far as all these are concerned. As far as a tiger range country is concerned, as far as an E8 country is concerned, India is all about, India is part of all these and plays a very important role in the conservation of these wildlife species. Now, just as tigers and elephants, it's also important to conserve certain other species, especially when it comes to birds. Okay, and one very important species that is facing a huge threat is vulture. In India, there are 9 species of vultures in the wild. Okay, you do not have to study all the names. It's all given here. If you want to read it, you can read it in your own time. Okay, so all these 9 species of vultures are found in India. But over the years, the wildlife conservationists have noted that there has been a considerable decline in the vulture population in India, which was first recorded in the Kailado Ghana National Park in Rajasthan. A huge decline in vulture species, especially the decline of Gyps genus. Okay, so if you look at the names of these, the biological name of these species, you can see some of them starts with Gyps. Okay, so that is the genus, the second name of the species. So genus and species, that is how the biological name is arranged. So 97% of the population has declined, especially in the genus, in the Gyps genus by 2005. So this sent out a lot of alarm bells. This could possibly put the, variety of species into extinction. Correct? So in India, the population of 3 species, white-back vulture, slender-billed vulture, and long-billed vulture. These 3 species witnessed huge drastic declines over the past decade. Okay, in India, these 3 species witnessed huge drastic declines in their population. Similarly, red-headed vulture or the king vulture, slender-billed vulture, and long-billed vulture all came into the critically endangered category, which means if it is not protected with immediate effect, they are going to be extinct. Okay, after critically endangered position, the next comes extinct. Correct? So 3 of the major species in India came to the verge of extinction. Similarly, Egyptian vultures and white-backed vultures, they were put in the category of being endangered. So overall, the vulture population in India were witnessing huge declines. So what's the reason? Initially, people thought that this, decline was, possibly due to the non-availability of food. What does vultures feed on? Vultures are scavengers. So they feed on the dead livestock. Correct. So they thought that this could, because of the lack of these, dead livestock or the food for vultures, that could be the reason of their population decline. This was the initial thought. The other theory was that there could be some sort of an epidemic spreading among the vultures. But all these were mere assumptions and nothing concrete. Finally, after extended researches, it has been found that the decline of the vulture population was mainly because of a drug named as diclofenac. Okay, so what is diclofenac? Diclofenac is a NSAID. What is an NSAID? NSAID means non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. This is a drug that is administered into cattle and livestock for various purposes, especially to reduce pain and all in certain conditions. So what happens when these animals die and when vultures feed on them? This NSAID go into the vulture. Diclofenac is taken by the vulture. Only problem is vultures cannot break down this chemical. Okay, each animal has a different sort of digestive system. Correct? Human beings can digest something, dogs cannot digest that thing, but certain things that they can digest, we cannot digest. Correct? Diclofenac is a chemical that the vultures cannot digest. Not only that, because of the huge concentrations of diclofenac, it started to cause renal failure or kidney failure in vultures. This is the reason for their eventual death and decline in population. Okay, it's not because of lack of food or say epidemic or anything. It is because of this chemical known as diclofenac. Clear? So what happens is whenever a bird is about to die, there is a common character that is noted in these birds. It is known as neck dropping. Vultures also exhibit this neck dropping. Their neck will be slightly in a bowed kind of position. You can see that. So this behavior is usually seen in birds in the last weeks of their lifetime. Some of the birds also exhibit this neck dropping during summer seasons, very hot conditions and all. So this is one indicator of the eventual death of that vulture. So what is the mitigation measure? How can we avoid this from happening? Very simple. Take out diclofenac. Correct? Ban diclofenac. Find an alternate chemical that does not put vultures into danger. And this was done by the introduction of meloxicam. Meloxicam is an excellent substitute for diclofenac. At the same time, it does not have this kind of threats for tigers. It has very reduced side effects and is also approved for human use in more than 70 countries. So, diclofenac off the table, replaced by meloxicam. So, the government of India in 2006 banned the veterinary use of diclofenac. But no use. Officially, it is banned. But do you really think that people will switch to another drug when there is a cheaper option available? No. Meloxicam is comparatively costly to diclofenac. So, in order to save money, people still use diclofenac despite it being a banned substance as far as veterinary use is concerned. Okay, so this is the major issue with vultures. Why do we need vultures? I mean, we have to protect that species, not just to protect that species. Well, vultures are very important for us. Why? First of all, they are scavengers, which means they feed on the dead. So they are basically cleaners of the environment, just as crows. Crows are one of the natural cleaners of the environment, correct? Vultures are also the same. Similarly, disposal of dead bodies as far as the Parsi community is concerned. They have this tower of silence and all, right? It's a religious belief regarding how to do with the dead people. There is cremation and all, burial, cremation, and this is another thing which is known as the towers of silence. So related to that traditional custom, you need vultures. Vultures are primary removers of carrion in India and Africa. Equilibrium between populations of other scavenging species will be affected. Yes. Movement of feral dogs into carcasses, increasing the spread of diseases such as rabies and anthrax. Also correct. So if the vulture population is gone, their position is taken up by some other species. Correct? And the usual scavengers are, dogs and, etc., street dogs, etc. So if the dogs move into these regions and all, there is a very good chance that they can start to spread a lot of epidemic diseases, including rabies and anthrax. So vultures are very, very important, especially also considering that it is an apex predator. It helps to keep in check a lot of other populations, a lot of other population explosions. Vulture comes at the end of the food chain. Okay, I hope you remember that. After vulture, it is the detritus food chain. Okay, so vulture is an apex predator. So in that sense also, it is a very, very important species. Now, vulture safety zones. The concept of vulture safety zones is actually very much unique to Asian continent, but similar ideologies has been in operation in Europe and Africa earlier itself. Basically, a vulture safety zone is an area that is surrounding a core zone of vultures, a vulture colony, and having a radius of 150 kilometers. So if there is a core region where abundance of vultures are there, then within 150 kilometer radius, it is declared as a vulture safety zone. So in these regions, the people are sensitized for the need of conserving vultures and on how to, deal with these sort of birds. Okay, extensive mass awareness programs are conducted to, make the people more aware of the importance of vultures, etc., etc. And there has been plenty of works, with respect to this in various conservation sites across India and even between countries. Okay. Now, what are the breeding centers in India? In India, there are plenty of vulture breeding centers. Most important one, the Vulture Breeding and Conservation Center, established in Pinjore, Haryana in 2001. Then Rani and Guwahati, Assam, and another one at Buxa, West Bengal. These are the major breeding centers for vultures in India. The Central Zoo Authority of India has also committed for supporting 4 such centers in Junagadh, Bhopal, Hyderabad, Bhubaneswar, etc., etc. So we are trying to bring up the population of vultures by almost all kinds of conservation measures possible. Clear? Similarly, the Ministry of Environment and Forests along with BNHS have taken up a program to release 30 young vultures from the breeding centers to the demarcated safety zones at 3 places by 2014. So from these breeding areas, 30 young vultures are being reintroduced back into the wild. Okay, I told you while talking about conservation measures or say conservation strategies, there are 2 methods of conservation in general: ex situ and in situ. Ex situ basically involves captive breeding, which means these animals are taken into a very safe environment where they are continuously monitored and their interbreeding is promoted. And once the number increases, these are reintroduced back into the environment. Correct? This is known as captive breeding. And this technique is used in order to increase the number of a lot of species that is undergoing severe population decline in India. Okay. And this, as far as vultures are concerned, this is a very tricky aspect. Why? Because young vultures actually takes up to 4 to 5 years to actually fly. Okay, it's not like a crow or a cuckoo. It doesn't leave the nest that easily. A young vulture will start to fly only after 4 or 5 years of birth. So until then, they are not able to fly, which is a huge threat to the young vultures. Correct. So that is one of the major challenges as far as rehabilitating vultures are concerned. Now, measures taken to conserve vultures. Very simple measures. Everything, most of the things I have already spoken about. Banning diclofenac and replacing it with meloxicam. That is number 1. National Action Plan on Vulture Conservation. Both in situ and ex situ strategies have to be considered. Protection status of certain types of vultures has been increased from Schedule 4 to Schedule 1. Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act provides maximum protection for any species in India. Okay, so those vultures which are under severe threat, such as whiteback, long-billed and slender-billed vultures, they are taken from Schedule 4 and placed in Schedule 1, affording them maximum protection. Vulture safety zones. Vulture restaurant sites. What are vulture restaurant sites? These are areas where food is provided for the vultures. Okay, which are very free from all these toxic chemicals and all, which again helps to bring up vulture population. These are known as vulture restaurant sites. Then vulture captive care facility has been established in Panchkula. Again, this is a strategy for captive breeding, and once the population is stabilized, they are rehabilitated into the wild. Finally, awareness raising activities targeting various groups. Obviously. So these are the major measures taken to conserve the vultures. As far as India is concerned, India has a very important role to play in vulture conservation also. Mainly, India moved a motion in the IUCN in 2004, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, IUCN, the body that prepares the Red Data book. So India has a very important role here. So India in 2004 moved a motion for conservation of the vulture. Okay, and this was accepted by IUCN resolution calling upon protection of gyps vulture in the range countries. Okay, so gyps vulture range countries were supposed to prevent all the uses of diclofenac in veterinary applications and also establish IUCN South Asian Task Force under the auspices of IUCN and range countries to develop and implement national vulture recovery plans. So diclofenac should be banned, and with the help of IUCN, national vulture recovery plans are to be put in motion. So India's resolution to protect vultures was actually accepted by an international body, and it is being implemented. Okay, now saving Asia's vulture from extinction. This is another body related with vulture conservation. Basically, SAVE is a consortium of like-minded regional and international organizations to oversee and coordinate conservation, campaigning and fundraising activities to help the plight of South Asia's vultures. Basically, a body that handholds everyone or connects different people who are interested in vulture conservation together and looks into protecting the different species of vultures, especially the 3 species which are in the critically endangered category. Okay, and this SAVE is actually partnered with some other organizations also, such as Bird Conservation Nepal, Bombay Natural History Museum India, International Center for Birds of Prey UK, National Trust for National Nature Conservation in Nepal, Royal Society for Protection of Birds UK. Clear. So some of the major organizations across the world have also partnered up with SAVE in order to protect vulture populations. And Asia's first gyps vulture reintroduction program was launched in Pinjo. 2 of the Himalayan griffons were released into the wild from Jatayu Conservation Breeding Center in Pinjo. Okay, very important. Asia's first gyps vulture reintroduction program that happened in India in Pinjo. Okay, so that is all about vultures. So we looked into tigers, elephants, now vultures. Next one is one-horned rhino. Okay, there is nothing too much. We have one-horned rhino and dolphins. Okay, then one small topic on hangars. That's it. One-horned rhino, again, very, very, very important. We have something called the Indian Rhino Vision 2020. Correct? This is again a program that is implemented in Assam. And the Bodo Autonomous Council is an active partner in this program. It is supported by WWF India, WWF Areas program, International Rhino Foundation, and a lot of NGOs in that area. A major program to conserve rhinos in India. So the vision of this program, when it began, was to increase the total rhino population in Assam from about 2,000 to 3,000 by 2020. This was the major target. It began a while ago. So since its inception, the idea was by the year 2020, we have to increase the population of rhinos from 2,000 to 3,000 in Assam. Okay, and to ensure that these rhinos are distributed over at least 7 protected areas. You can't have all of them kept in one area, which is a severe threat to its population. So you have to equally distribute it at various protected regions. That is why it's not just Kaziranga. It is Kaziranga, it is Manas, it is a lot of other, say, Lokava, Saikova, Dibru. Okay, different national parks are there associated with one-horned rhinoceros. In all these areas, rhinos are protected in India against poaching. Correct. Mainly the main threat to rhinos are poaching for their horns, which have a lot of medical properties and all. Okay, so a lot of anti-poaching activities, monitoring activities, translocations, community conservation, etc. are taken up by Indian Rhino Vision 2020. And the major focus areas were Manas National Park, Dibru Saikova Wildlife Sanctuary, Lakhova Bura Chapori Wildlife Sanctuary, and in these areas, viable populations were introduced from Kaziranga and Pobitora. Kaziranga National Park and Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary have the most number of rhinos. So from there, a lot of them were relocated into the other said areas. So relocation is basically one of the major pillars of Indian Rhino Vision 2020. Relocation of rhinos from an abundant area into other protected areas, 7 other areas. And Manas National Park was selected as the first site for translocation of rhinos. Manas National Park, again in Assam, this was the site first selected for translocation of rhinos. Okay, so just like rhinos, another important animal is snow leopard. Snow leopard, again, very simple, not too much. It's a globally endangered species. And India is home for about 10% of global population, although India have only 5% of its range, global range. So very, very important country in terms of snow leopard as well. And just as this name suggests, snow leopards are obviously seen in higher altitudes, especially in Himalayas, above 3000 meters from mean sea level. Okay, and in India, they are distributed over 5 states: Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, and Arunachal Pradesh. Oh, and obviously into the other Himalayan countries also, like China, Mongolia, and India. In the world, we can see the most number of snow leopards in China, followed by Mongolia, and then India. India is at the 3rd place. So they are also undergoing a lot of threats. Why? Competition with livestock, degradation of habitat, poaching, okay, etc., etc. So these are common to most of the animals, and snow leopards are also facing similar threats and are in the verge of extinction. They are globally endangered species. So Project Snow Leopard was a step in order to conserve them, in order to prevent their extinction. Okay, so it basically aimed to promote a knowledge-based and adaptive conservation mechanism that fully involves the local communities, so that the snow leopard population can be brought up. And what is the location? Again, the same states where they are seen, the 5 states. And Project Snow Leopard is designated for all biologically important habitats within the snow leopard range, irrespective of their ownership. So it could be a protected area, it could be a common land, whatever it is. But Project Snow Leopard is common for all areas where snow leopards are seen, which means all the snow leopard range areas. It's not specific to a national park or a wildlife sanctuary. It could be a protected area or it could be a public area, whatever it is. Project Snow Leopard is applicable to all these ranges. Okay, now secure Himalaya. What could this be? Just think about it. Secure Himalaya, I mean, from the name itself, you will get it. Basically, some sort of a program to secure the Himalayan ecosystem. Correct. So Secure Himalaya is actually a project launched by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in collaboration with United Nations Development Program, UNDP. So the plan here was to conserve snow leopards by protecting their habitats and improving Himalayan ecology. Okay, snow leopards are seen in Himalayas over and above 3000 meters. So by protecting their habitat, you can indirectly protect the snow leopards. That was the idea. So protect the Himalayan ecology as such. So it covers the states of Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand and Sikkim, the 4 states. Not 5 here. Arunachal Pradesh is not there, but other 4 states are here. So what are the focus areas? Strengthening and improving protected areas, landscape level approach for wildlife conservation, control of poaching and illegal trade, mitigation of human wildlife conflicts, management of tourism and wildlife. Very broad, very vague. Basically do everything to protect snow leopard and the Himalayan ecosystem. Okay, so that is about snow leopards. Now coming to sea turtle. These are very, very small. Okay, just a couple of slides for each. That is why we are moving through this. We will finish the class in next, 5 minutes. Any questions? Shedan is asking, sir, will this series be helpful for CDS exam? Yes, this is helpful for all competitive examinations. Okay, I mean, that is one thing about UPSC. If you study for UPSC, you can literally write every other exam. Okay, I mean, for whatever exam you are preparing, first of all, check the syllabus of that particular exam. Okay, and if environment portions are there, then it will definitely be helpful. But also keep in mind, you have to append current affairs portions with this. What I'm teaching is a theory portion, the static portions. You need to add the current affairs portions along with it for your preparation. That part you have to do. All right. So Sea Turtle Project. What is Sea Turtle Project? The Sea Turtle Project was again another very beautiful project by Government of India with the help of a lot of international organizations aimed at conserving olive ridley turtles. Olive ridley turtles are one of the abundant turtles in the world. Okay, their numbers are very, very, very high. They are not in the verge of endangerment or anything. Abundance of population is available across the world. Okay, but then why are we conserving it? Because India is a very, very important site for breeding of olive ridley turtles, especially Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. Okay, you might have heard about Gahirmata Wildlife Sanctuary. If you haven't heard about it, go Google it. Very, very important. This is where olive ridley turtles come in and conduct something known as Aribada. Aribada is basically the mass nesting of olive ridley turtles, where they come and lay the eggs in the beaches and go back into the oceans. Okay, so Aribada is very, very important, and this is associated with olive ridley turtles. And Gahirmata Sanctuary in Odisha and some areas in Andhra Pradesh are very vital for their population. So in general, so this is regarding olive ridley turtles. But we have a general turtle conservation program in India by Ministry of Environment and Forests, initiated by the Sea Turtle Conservation Project in collaboration with UNDP. This started back in 1999 with Wildlife Institute, Dehradun as the implementation agency. And this is implemented in 10 coastal states of India, especially with emphasis on Orissa. Again, what could be the salient features? Preparation of inventory map for breeding sites of sea turtles, identification of nesting and breeding habitats, vagera vagera, you know this. The two major achievements of this project are one, satellite telemetry. Satellite telemetry is some technological development used to locate the migratory route of olive ridley turtles and to sensitize fishermen. Okay, so you can monitor the migration path of olive ridley turtles using this technology innovation known as satellite telemetry. This is one of the biggest achievements. Second one is use of TED, turtle exclusion device. One of the major issues or threats faced by sea turtles are that they also might get captured in the fishing nets along with fishes. Okay, I mean, the fishermen do not intend to catch them, but when they fish, some turtles will also get caught in the net. Get it? So, sensitizing the fishermen and state governments to use turtle exclusion devices, this has been the second major achievement as far as sea turtle projects are concerned. Okay, so that's about sea turtle. Indian Crocodile Conservation Project. What is, all about crocodiles? Okay, so crocodile population in India was very low at one point of time, but now it has come back amazingly well, and the population is back up in a very good level. Okay, so the idea is basically to protect the remaining population of crocodilians in their natural habitat by creating sanctuaries. Okay, so to rebuild this natural population quickly, there are some techniques used, such as grow and release or rear and release. Both these are basically captive breeding techniques. Initially, they are bred in a very safe environment where they are monitored and all their behavior, etc. are studied. And once they are stable, they are reintroduced back into the wildlife. This is known as captive breeding. So grow and release is basically a captive breeding technique. And using these techniques, more than 7,000 crocodiles has been restored. Around 4,000 gharials, 1,000 mugger, and 1,500 saltwater crocodiles. These are the three variety species of crocodiles found in India. All three of them has been brought back to very good numbers using captive breeding techniques. So captive breeding, similarly research and improvement, studies, etc., has been conducted to build a level of trained personnel for better continuity of the project through training imparted at project sites and through the Central Crocodile Breeding and Management Training Institute, Hyderabad. So in order to protect these populations, it's also necessary to, train some people in these areas. Correct? So a Central Crocodile Breeding and Management Training Institute has been set up in Hyderabad for this purpose. And obviously, local people also has to be taken into concern. Now, Hangal. What about Hangal? What is Hangal? Hangal is the common name for Kashmir stag. Okay, so Hangal is a subspecies of the Asian red deer, which is native to northern India. This is the state animal of Jammu Kashmir and is found in the Chigam National Park at very high elevations. Okay, and these deers live in groups of 2 to 18 individuals in dense riverine forests, high valleys and mountains in the Kashmir Valley and northern Chamba in Himachal Pradesh. These are the areas where hangals are found. So they also face the same threats: habitat destruction, overgrazing, poaching, etc. etc. That is why Project Hangal was put in the force. State of Jammu Kashmir along with IUCN and WWF prepared this project to conserve these animals, and it came to be known as Project Hangal. And this brought great results, and the population increased by over 340 by the year 1980. This is an old project, and we were able to restore population to very good numbers due to the concerted efforts under Project Hangal. Now coming to our national aquatic animal, dolphin. Okay, that's it. Okay, only 4 slides remaining. We will finish it very soon. Dolphins. You know what a dolphin is, correct? So dolphins are found in all kinds of waters. There are dolphins in sea, brackish water, marine water, fresh water. A total of 15 species of marine and harbor dolphins has been reported from Indian waters. 15 species of dolphins. Among them, Irrawaddy dolphins are found in brackish waters of Odisha. As for the freshwater dolphins, we have the Gangetic dolphin in Ganges and the Indus River dolphins in Indus. These are examples of freshwater dolphins. Okay, all the freshwater dolphins, marine water dolphins, and brackish water dolphins are actually put in the most protected schedule, that is Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Highest degree of protection to all the dolphins. Okay, and Gangetic dolphin is one of the 17 species identified under the Recovery Program of Critically Endangered Species under centrally sponsored scheme of Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitat. So 17 species has been selected for Recovery Program of Critically Endangered Species under this umbrella program called the Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitat, and Ganges dolphin is one among the 17 species. And Gangetic dolphin is also protected under another program that deals with river conservation, that is the National Mission on Clean Ganga, NMCG. I talked about this in our previous classes. So that is a project to conserve river Ganges. So naturally, these dolphins which thrive on river Ganges also gets protection under this project. Okay, now about Ganges dolphin. Ministry of Environment and Forest notified Ganges dolphin as National Aquatic Animal. So National Aquatic Animal of India is not just any dolphin, it is the Ganges dolphin. And the river dolphin inhabits Ganges, Brahmaputra, Meghna, and the Karnapuli Sanghu river systems of Nepal, India, and Bangladesh. This is the area where they are seen. As I mentioned earlier, they are given the highest protection through Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. And Gangetic dolphin is among the 4 obligate freshwater dolphins found in the world. Some of the dolphins are capable of moving from brackish waters to fresh waters. Okay, they are capable of adapting. But there are 4 species of dolphins in the world which are only found in freshwaters, not anywhere else. Clear? Only 4 species. One of them is Ganges dolphin. The others include Ganges dolphin is also known as Susu. Okay, Susu is the other name for Gangetic dolphin. So Susu is there. Then the other 3 includes Baiji, that is found in the Yangtze River in China, Hulan, found in the Indus River, Pakistan, and Boto in the Amazon River in Latin America. These are the 4 obligate freshwater dolphin species in the world. And Chinese dolphin is actually functionally extinct. Okay, so what are the threats faced by the Ganges dolphin? Think about it. Anything that destroys the river Ganga destroys Gangetic dolphin also. So it's basically river pollution, siltation, accidental entanglement in fishing nets, correct? Poaching for their oil and all. So these are natural threats that you can think about yourself and write down. Okay. Now, Governmental measures taken to prevent the menace of wild, okay, angry to human beings. Okay, small spelling mistake. Sorry. So basically, what are the steps taken by government to mitigate man and wildlife conflict? That is the topic. First of all, financial assistance to state governments through various centrally sponsored projects such as Project Tiger, Project Elephant, etc. etc. Everything we have looked into earlier. Provide adequate funding for the conservation of these species so that they will not come into conflict with the local communities. Construction of barriers like boundary walls and solar powered electric fences. This is another proposals. But the problem with electric fences are we have instances where elephants got electrocuted and died. So this needs to be reworked. Okay, then the chief wildlife wardens of the states and union territories are empowered to permit hunting of problematic animals under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1970. So say if a tiger is designated as a man-eater, okay, or say it is causing too much trouble and is a threat to human life and all, then the chief wildlife warden of that state or that union territory has the power to permit hunting it down. Hunt it down and relocate it to some other area. Okay, now programs are launched to sensitize people and to create awareness about the do's and don'ts when they come into conflict or when they come into contact with wildlife. Eco-development activities undertaken in villages around protected areas, etc., etc., to elicit the cooperation of local communities. Okay, so various other programs are also there. These are just, this is not an exhaustive list. Find out some more government schemes from your daily newspaper reading and add that to these. Okay, these are some holistic, some basic ideas in which you can work more. Last slide. India adopts SAVAN. What is SAVAN? SAVAN stands for South Asia Wildlife Enforcement Network. This is SAVAN. Basically, it is a conservation mechanism for wildlife. India became its official member, its formal member. And SAVAN actually comprises of 8 countries, including Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. So 8 countries from South Asia forms SAVAN. India is a part of this. Idea is very simple: to have a very strong regional intergovernmental body for combating wildlife crime by attempting common goals of approaches for combating illegal trade in this region. Prevent illegal trade and thereby prevent a lot of wildlife associated crimes. This is the ideology of SAVAN. And it has 8 members, all from South Asia. India is also a part of it. Okay, so in today's class, we have discussed a lot about different strategies and different projects, both internationally and by the government of India, to protect various wildlife species across India. Okay, so I hope you got some idea regarding all the conservation projects that is in place, but whatever I have taught you is the base. You have to build on that using your current affairs. Okay, as I have mentioned, find out the state in which there are maximum number of tigers in India. Is it Madhya Pradesh or is it Karnataka? Go find it out yourself. Okay, similarly, such current affairs related areas has to be added. Otherwise, today's class will remain incomplete. Okay, that's something that you have to do yourself. All right. So I hope today's class was useful for you, and please make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share with your friends. We will meet again tomorrow with another topic. Tomorrow we are starting the next section, and we will start with climate change. Okay, so meet you tomorrow. Until then, good night.